I love music. Music has been the most sustaining thing in my life. My parents would listen to all the 60s and 70s singer-songwriters. That was my first exposure to music. Then I got into the Beatles, and that was the first time that I was ever kind of like a music fan. And then I got really into American folk music because the Incredible String Band led me to Irish music, and Irish music led me to American folk music. And that sort of changed my life, I'd say, too. So there were some friends of my parents who were professional musicians. They were private press, just released their own stuff and paid for it, not on a label. But that was what they did for a job. But I was really entranced by this really musical family whose idea of bonding in the evening had nothing to do with sitting around and watching TV. They was getting out the guitars and the dulcimers and the mandolins and playing music together. They had a son about my age whose name was Nick, and he was really talented, like, for his age. As a sort of desire to fit in with him, I started trying to play songs and trying to sing and write songs. I just was feeling an inner voice that was telling me that my time in Austin was sort of coming to an end. I just felt like I needed a challenge to go to a different place. I just felt like maybe I needed to learn about how to be a grown person with skills, and that in Brooklyn I would either have to learn those or I would drown. You know, some people hate the band name Okkervil River, or they don't know how to pronounce it, or they don't know how to spell it, and I'm probably the biggest person who hates it. It was 1998, and I had just formed a band with my two high school friends, and we were all writing in it, and we were all sharing lead singer duties. I had just read a short story called Okkervil River, but then the next day I woke up in a panic, realizing how hard to spell it was, how it sounds like a country band, and I begged them to let me change it. But it was a 2/3 vote, so I was overruled. There were so many things that I wanted to do musically, but I knew that we could only do some of them. It wouldn't make sense if we tried to do all the different styles and things I wanted to do, and that I wouldn't be able to get good at any one thing. I thought, well, I'm going to try to do this sort of folk music derived rock and roll thing. I just think of us as rock and roll mostly, but I really guess I do sort of think it's like American music. I have a Martin triple-aught size small guitar that has become kind of like a signature guitar for me. This guitar is really very tempered because I've been playing it on stage for 15 or more years. It very much knows how to be played, and especially sort of knows how to be played by me. Recently flew to Europe and they lost my bags, but they didn't lose my guitar. I think if that guitar were lost or something happened to it, it would be like an existential issue for me. More and more my trend has been to just try to very hard to keep the human spark in things and to not overwork them. My workflow on In the Rainbow Rain was very, very similar to Away. The ironic thing is that In the Rainbow Rain sounds very different than Away. I think that's a result of the fact that we reached for different instruments. The instruments that we played on In the Rainbow Rain were more based on the instruments we were playing in our live show. And the other difference is I think that I was just very, very happy. And everybody was happy. You'll bring like a happy energy to those activities, and so that's sort of why this record feels more happy, I think. Pulled Up the Ribbon is a song that deals with elemental forces. I had worked with Christopher Good on our video for the industry for Away, and I had a really great time doing it. And he sent me a treatment for Pulled Up the Ribbon. It was like what I what I didn't know I wanted. And I mean, as we went through, we would talk about what we wanted the giant guitar to look like and things like that. But more or less, that comes out of Chris Good's head. He's a special guy.
Coleman, he was on TV.
I was just one of those kids who got sick a lot, and with very sort of serious sickness. It affected, I think, who I am. I think it appeared in my writing a lot in veiled ways up until writing Famous Tracheotomies. But also a friend of mine asked me to write a song that was about a body part. You know, stories involving tracheotomies either end in the most happy way or the most sad way possible. So I think there's an inherent drama in that. And I also think that there's something inherently funny about the idea of writing about tracheotomies. So I liked the fact that there was a kind of a weird balance of humor and intensity. I would really, really love to see Laura Nyro live. That would make me just very, very happy. I feel like I'm just going to say Laura Nyro. I'd like to see Laura Nyro throughout multiple phases of her career. Just play a festival where it's just like her at different times in her life. There's a lot of songs that say things like, "Who needs a castle in Spain?" The only song I can think of that has anything nice to say about a castle in Spain is Jimi Hendrix's song Spanish Castle Magic. But in the second verse of the song, he specifies that he's not even talking about a castle in Spain. He says, it's not in Spain, that's just a real cool name. That's what I love about songwriting too, is that people think it's sort of supposed to be very solemn and meaningful and powerful, but it's just supposed to be fun. It's just supposed to make you smile. So Jimi Hendrix knows that a castle in Spain is theoretically cool. I wish that we had spent even more time touring than we did. It took me personally a really long time to get my musical performance skills where I wanted them to be. I started out as a writer who just really wanted somebody to sing my songs. I learned, obviously, quickly, and thank God, that nobody was gonna do that but me. So I had to learn how to be a musician. I wish that I had had another 2 or 3 years to just grind it out playing crappy venues and learning how to play guitar and things like that. It's important to know that you need to work harder than you can conceive. The only reason that you should do music is if you would never forgive yourself if you didn't do it. If you feel like you would have wasted your life if you didn't do music. You have to make really serious sacrifices. But the most important thing is being a good, whole person and not screwing people over and not polluting the world around you with selfishness and negativity and crap. Because that is, that will contradict your work and sully it and ruin it. So that's my advice.
I know you're sober now in your place.